While he was first referenced in a 2009 creepypasta, Slender Man truly emerged into pop culture with the first Slender game in 2012. People around the world were terrified that this child-murdering creature might be around the corner. Today we'll explore the horrifying reality of a world with a real-life Slender Man. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if the Slender Man was real? Slender Man is generally depicted as a tall, pale man with no face who is, unsurprisingly, very slender. He also often has a number of tentacles or tendrils coming from his back. According to the original creator of the first Slender Man photos, Eric Knudsen, he was designed to, quote, formulate something whose motivations can barely be comprehended and which caused unease and terror in a general population. And based on the way the game makes people feel, he succeeded. Slender Man is terrifying. Given that many people are unable to even finish the video game with him chasing them, most of us would be pretty useless if he was after us in real life. And you can bet we won't be stopping to pick up any pieces of paper. One particularly unsettling aspect of Slender Man is that he's believed to specifically pursue people who have become more paranoid about his existence, similar to Freddy Krueger. This is a concept that was used to great effect in the Elm Street films, and it's scary for a reason. Trying not to think of something is a great way to think of exactly that thing, and trying not to be paranoid about a terrifying creature coming to kill you is damn near impossible. And if he was real, you can bet there would be an awful lot of paranoid people out there. But being killed isn't the only thing to worry about if you're being pursued by the big guy. Some stories say that he has the ability to control one's mind with telepathy, and cause sickness due to sigma radiation emitted by his body. He also seems to have some sort of teleportation ability which would make escaping him in real life very difficult. While these things would make him absolutely horrifying in real life, he has managed to cause harm to people even as a fictional character. In 2014, two 12-year-old girls went on a mission to prove themselves to Slender Man. In the end, they lured one of their friends into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. Thankfully, their friend managed to survive, and the pair was later caught and sent to a mental institution, having been found not guilty by reason of mental defect. This has some pretty terrifying implications if Slender Man was real. Would he gain a following? Would people begin to support him and his actions? It may seem unlikely, but the following gained by murderers like Charles Manson indicates that there's a good chance the Slender Man would find himself with a number of deranged disciples like these two girls. If Slender Man was in fact real, life would likely change somewhat. It's possible that a curfew would be instated for children, particularly in areas where the Slender Man is known to hunt. Since he tends to attack children and tends to hunt at night, this would be an effective way of limiting his kills. Unfortunately, some believe that the fact that it suddenly turns to night when you come within his vicinity points to him having control of the day and night cycle. This, however, may just be a choice by the game developers and not true lore. Despite the dangers posed by Slender Man, it may be that he just wouldn't be a big deal. If you think about it, he's just a scarier looking serial killer who attacks rather infrequently. It could be that this would just become one of those things that people assume only happens to other people, similar to how acts of terrorism are perceived right now. It may be that we would be better off worrying about drunk drivers than Slender Man. However, as a seemingly supernatural being, it may be that his powers and terrifying appearance cause him to be feared even more, similar to the surprisingly infrequent shark attacks that are still feared by most people. Finally, it should be noted that some believe that Slender Man isn't the evil creature many claim him to be. There are a number of theories about the creature, many of which attempt to frame him as a noble hero. Some believe that he's able to foresee disaster and saves people from a horrific or painful death by giving them a quick and painless one. Unfortunately, this seems pretty unlikely due to his propensity to impale and dissect his victims in a pretty brutal way. But it's an interesting thought. And now we return to our question, what if the Slender Man was real? Well, it probably goes without saying that the world would be a lot scarier. Considering he manages to bring about evil as an urban legend, a real Slender Man would be even more lethal. With a mysterious and murderous creature out to hunt kids down at night, kids might be kept indoors after dark, and people would be far less inclined to go camping. That said, you would still probably be more likely to die in a car accident than at the hands of Slender Man, so it may not change the world too much in the long run. On the bright side, the odds of Slender Man being real are fairly slim. One might say they're slender, so don't worry too much.
What if the nun fought Slender Man? Well, stick a 9-foot tall suited and booted daddy longlegs and we're good to go in this demonic Royal Rumble. I'm not gonna lie, this titanic bout would be a seriously intense fight. Both of these guys have got some hardcore weaponry in their lockers, so hold on to your hats because it's going to be a close one. Before we jump into that though, folks, you all know the drill by now. If you're a fan of this video, old Mr. Slendy, Valak the Nun, or LBQ in general, then be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell so you can stay up to date with our latest and greatest uploads. On with the show. Weighing in at, well, presumably weightless, and measuring in at anywhere between an absolutely huge 6 to 15 feet tall, Slender Man steps into our ring with some pretty terrifying credentials, and an arsenal of demonically twisted appendages that will make any opponent, demons included, included, shudder at the thought of the pain he has in store for us. By now, Slender Man is a household name, but as we all know, his true mythological origin comes from the early creepypasta days of the internet, which has led him to appear in millions of memes, dozens of games, and an untold number of fan-generated fictional sites. That, while pandering to several different facets of Slender Man emotion, the one feeling that unites them all is fear. He's the big, bad baddie, the thing that goes bump in the night, and how can fear itself be scared of anything? Well, let me introduce you to Valak, aka the Nun, a demon of many names. Volak, Valax, Valik, whichever way you spin it, it's pretty damn scary. We're going to waylay the emphasis put on Valak as his time as a nun and focus more on his lore as a demonic overlord. Weighing in at, I don't know, whatever a pound of flesh weighs, and conveniently measuring in at the height of an average doorframe, Valak potentially has the best chance against our pal Slenderman and has the backing of hell itself to bring the heat in our demonic showdown. Let's stick our demonology hats on for a moment and take a stroll through the 7 circles of hell, where according to the Lesser Key of Solomon, a Goetic grimoire written in the mid-17th century, Valak is known as the Great President of Hell and controls over 30 legions of demons which mercilessly answer to his command. Wind that back a little bit, 30 legions, where if we're going off of Roman Empire equations, that's about 5,000 troops per legion. So multiply that by 30 and we're looking at 150,000 of some of the vilest, most demonic creatures at Valak's beck and call. By sheer numbers alone, Valak already has the leg up over Mr. Slendy. But hold on a minute, because Slender Man definitely has a trick or two hidden up his own very long sleeve. Mind control. So far throughout Slender Man's plethora of literature, he's demonstrated the ability to brainwash several of his victims in an almost Stockholm Syndrome manner, where his victims become infatuated by his demonic draw and unequivocally answer to his strange bidding. He's also demonstrated partial control of his victims through proxies, as seen in the character Kate in the video game Slender the Arrival, after she succumbed to insanity in order to fulfill his needs. It goes one further as well, as it's also theorized that Slender Man's mind control, at its most powerful, has the ability to control a human psyche like a puppet master. This example of mind control was demonstrated back in the Dark Harvest 00 augmented reality game, where we saw an entire cult known as the Order who'd succumbed to Slendy's puppeteering. So the point is, perhaps with enough time and scheming, Slender Man could build up a force of his own to even the playing field a little bit. True, it's no small feat to establish a force that could defeat 150,000 demons, and it's probably a little late in the day for him to start amassing an army, but whatever, eh? We're trying to be as fair as we can. The option's there, I guess. In that respect, Valak wins this bout hands down. In a full-scale battle, a demonic horde wipes the field without breaking too much of a sweat. Also, out of fairness, we haven't even mentioned that Valak is also commonly known as the Marquis of Snakes, and characteristically draws serpents to do his bidding. So that battlefield will be pretty well stacked, to say the least. Let's take it one-on-one though, because it's safe to say that Valak has clearly won this aspect of our theoretical scenario, and when we go demon on demon, things get a little more interesting. Slender Man's arsenal is frightening, to say the least. Slender walking, a common name given to his ability to appear and disappear at will, psychic camouflage, mind control as we've already mentioned, impersonation, selective visibility, distortion, pyrokinesis, and probably the cream of the crop, everyone's favourite offensive appendages, tentacles. When it comes to a one-on-one battle, Slender Man has the clear advantage and would definitely win this fight. Other than slipping into the clothes of Catholic nuns or pretending to be the physical equivalent of an English nursery rhyme, Valak is pretty thin on anomalous powers. He does have one advantage though, as the Lesser Key of Solomon states. Valak possesses the power to find treasures, and is demonstrated in the Conjuring franchise during the vision of Ed Warren being impaled and his offering of this to Lorraine Warren as a gift. Treasures is a loose term though, and while it may not seem like the most useful power, it points toward a tactic that Valak often utilizes. Just like with the Annabelle doll in the Conjuring franchise, Valak is a much better ally than he is as an enemy, especially to demons. And while the most likely outcome of this hypothetical scenario is that Valak simply adds Slender Man to his menagerie of demonic allies. And then we come full circle, and more than likely, with how the majority of these things end up, Valak and Slender Man would team up and we'd all be boned.
Today we'll be breaking down what if Siren had fought Slender Man. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to LBQ. I'm your host, Jared Bronstein, and before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, click that bell icon to never miss a video, and let me know in the comments below who you think would win and and why. So before these two beings go head to head, let's summarize who and what they are, as well as what they're possible of doing. Starting with Siren Head, a 40-foot tall, humanoid-like entity that seems to resemble that of a telephone pole. Siren Head is exactly that. A tall, lanky creature of sorts with a megaphone or possibly speakers for a head, and dry, mummified skin. Although Siren Head is known to stalk his victims in the woods, he tends to use the voices of their loved ones to lure them into him. It's believed once he's close enough, Siren Head will grab you and instantly kill you. Although it's unclear if he kills you by ripping you apart, eating you, or he has other vicious plans to end your life. And then we got Slender Man, the creature believed to be anywhere between 6 and 15 feet, with a slim, elongated body that is normally seen in a suit. It's believed he has anywhere between 4 and 8 tentacles as well. Known for mostly going after children, Slender Man uses his long arms or tentacles to hypnotize his victims and have them walk directly into him. It's unknown if Slender Man kills his victims on the spot, takes them somewhere to kill them, or just abducts them and holds them captive, never to be seen again. One thing is for sure, if you encounter Slender Man, you won't be seen again. There's also the power Slender Man seems to have over people. Although he's clearly not real, back in 2014, two 12-year-old girls lured their friend into the woods and then brutally attacked her, seeing her as a sacrifice for Slender Man. Thankfully, the young girl managed to survive the attack, which saw her get stabbed a total of 19 times. But the fact that they carried out this act for a non-existent figure speaks volumes to the power he could possibly have. So what happens if Siren Head decides to duke it out with Slender Man? Well, truth be told, I can't say there would be a clear winner. It could go either way, and I'm going to explain my case for both sides here. So let's start with that loudmouth Siren Head. He's got the size advantage for sure. 4 feet compared to 8 feet. Even if Slender Man were 15 feet, still large, but it wouldn't be much of a contest if you ask me. However, luring Slender Man in the first place could be problematic, considering how he probably doesn't have any loved ones. That being said, Slender Man is known to roam the woods looking for children, so maybe Siren Head could trick him by using a child's voice. There's also the possibility he hides among the trees, Slender Man walks by, and then attacks when Slender Man is least expecting. Aside from trying to find a way to ambush Slender Man, actually attacking him could be problematic. Although there is a clear difference in size, Slender Man would most likely have the advantage for many other reasons. For starters, Slender Man's skin is different. We're not really sure what it's made of, it's just different. Many say Slender Man is an extraterrestrial being of sorts, and his ability to teleport definitely supports that. Slender Man would also have the capability of having up to 8 hands or tentacles, whereas Siren Head has 2 hands. However, what I think gives Slender Man the biggest advantage is the power he has over people in general. Although Siren Head can lure people in using the voice of their loved ones, he can't necessarily control minds. Slender Man, on the other hand, seems to have the ability to persuade, manipulate, or control others. Children or not, Slender Man would be able to use his abilities to make an army of his own, and this is why I feel he'd win the showdown between these two beings. Now, Siren Head could of course also be an extraterrestrial being or possibly a mutant creature of sorts. It's not very clear. But what is clear is that Siren Head's skin is dried out, and Siren Head is also known to lurk among trees. So if a forest fire were to spread, say at the hands of Slender Man's army, Siren Head could quite simply be burnt down. Slender Man, on the other hand, well, it's unclear how you could really stop him, unless maybe use a flashlight. Only those who play the game will get that joke. So it seems based on the conclusion I've made on my own, Slender Man would win this one. But I want to know what you guys think. Would Siren Head beat Slender Man? Let me know in the comments what your stance is and why.
The Megalodon, the toothiest of deadliest sharksters and the ruler of the prehistoric ocean. Slender Man, a modern-day creepypasta turned into a waking life creepathon. A tall, quiet, faceless killer that will haunt you in your sleep. One sea creature of doom, one woodland lurker of terror. But what if they faced off against one another? Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, the channel that loves to answer the wackiest of looniest questions. Why? Well, if nobody ever asked, we'd never know the answer, would we? Before we jump on into this video, I want to ask you guys who you think would win in a face-off battle between Slender Man and the Megalodon. Write hashtag Team Slender Man or hashtag Team Megalodon in the comments section down below. Also, while you're down there, why don't you click on that thumbs up button and the notification bell so you never ever miss a big answer. If you guys ever want to find out more about a video, about our sources, and about the creative team here at Life's Biggest Questions, there are links in the description boxes. Right then, Slender Man versus Megalodon. Fight! This is it's interesting because we have a prehistoric animal that swam its last 2.6 million years ago and a creature of urban legend that emerged in 2009 and hit dizzying heights of internet in the 2010s. The Megalodon's day is very much over, yet Slender Man's has only just begun. Although he isn't real, but that's no fun, right? Let's just assume he is. Well, firstly, how do these two killers measure up? The Megalodon was said to be a relative of the much smaller but still living great white shark, only the Megalodon was like a jacked up uber version at 50 foot long and 50 tons, so that's over 50,000 kilos. Not to mention its giant teeth. But actually, let's mention those gnashes as they might be important and actually, they might help him win. The biggest Megalodon teeth found have been around 7 inches, and it is thought that the Megalodon had the most powerful bite in the animal kingdom. Slendy, on the other hand, may not have Megalodon-sized gnashes, but some depictions and creepypastas show him having a mouthful of pointy teeth and a terrifyingly long tongue. Like, get that away from me. Okay, but does he measure up to the shark? Well, short answer, no. The Megalodon was thought to weigh 50,000 kilos, guys. 50,000. I mean, mate, I don't care how spooky you are, that fish could quash you. Slender Man is, well, slender. Sure, he's thought to be tall, but at most he's described as being 15 feet tall, although usually he's described as being around 7 or 8 foot. I don't care what you say, even at top estimates of 15 feet, he was nowhere near as big as the Megalodon. Also, slender, so does he weigh 50,000 kilos? No, he doesn't. I'm thinking like 80 at best. All the shark need do is flop over him and he would be crushed, and that's without getting his jaws around him. Megalodon could munch old Slendy as an appetizer and amuse-bouche. Did I just want to say amuse-bouche today? Sure, but that doesn't defeat my point. It isn't over yet though. Slender Man does have a few tricks up his sleeve, and when I say a few tricks, I mean a few extra arms. Honey gets tentacly when he's mad, according to a number of artist impressions and creepypastas anyway. Perhaps with all those additional arms he would be able to hold the Megalodon down, but I don't know, perhaps they're all the better for chomping through. Slendy does have some kind of voodoo mind control thing going on. He is thought to appear in his victims' dreams and make them sick before he visits them in real life. This sickness is characterized by nausea, nosebleeds, nightmares, and hallucinations, which sounds like a rough time for Mr. Shark. Maybe Slender Man can get inside his head and that could be his key to victory, just, you know, really freak that shark out. Or maybe it would make the Megalodon an even more dangerous predator, crazed and ill. Yikes. Okay, but hold your slender horses. How is this fight even gonna go down? Slender Man is a woodland dweller and the Megalodon lives in the ocean. 2.6 million years ago. Where would these two would-be rivals ever meet? If on land, then old Sharky is done for, and if in the ocean, well, Slender Man, does he have gills? Can he breathe underwater? Do those tentacle arms mean that he's part octopus? Would this even up the fight? Despite Slender Man's Jedi mind tricks, octo arms, and general creepiness, we can't help but think that the Megalodon would crush him with sheer size and ferocity. However, there is one final string to his silent and somewhat more sentient bow. Slender Man has been known to take human proxies. If it were more than a case of man versus shark and the bringer of doom and gloom could enlist humans, then there's no doubt he could mastermind some kind of voyage to multi-harpoon the Megalodon. But even with a small army, could he really take it down? Isn't Slender Man's things little girls in the woods anyway? I guess there's a reason he hasn't tried to take down a lion or a grizzly bear. He likes to prey on the weak, and the Megalodon simply isn't that. I'm kind of wishing that the big bad killer fish did exist today, just so we could feed Slenderman to him and be done with that creep forever. But Slenderman isn't real, so whatever. If you're scared of Slenderman, why don't you just conjure up a giant killer shark in your mind and have him chomp, because obviously the Megalodon would win.